I was in creation mode, building audience, building my email list, and really understanding what my offering was to the world. I really focus on launching new things. This year, I am so proud of myself. I launched many different programs, many different initiatives, and I learned at every step of the way. At the beginning of the year, I had decided to launch a live cohort with the goal of launching a podcast within 100 days together. We had mock interviews where the participants took turns creating interview questions and getting live feedback from the group and how it sounded, what they can improve. At the beginning, it wasn't part of the curriculum, but it came up organically. And being in motion and being in creation and being in community, co-creating, the idea of the mock interviews came throughout. Welcome to 22 podcast mini series that I had launched at the end of 2020 to document my 100x life. It started off where I declared that I would 100x my business in 100 days. Now I'm in my third installment of my 10-year mission to document my life, how I manifest the things that I create and the things that I learn. And in 22, I'm going to go over the 5 things that I learned 2022. This year, I was in creation. I was in growth mode. I wanted to continue to build a community. I wanted to get on the edge, to push myself, to understand who and what I stand for. I wanted to get to know what my thought leadership was, redefine who I am, sharpen my skills, upgrade every part of my life. So starting off on this episode, I really thought about my strategy, my 100-day epics, how I split the year into 100 days, and I focus on creating by making a decision, declaring it, and making things come true. This year, I was in creation mode. I really wanted to focus on building audience, building my email list, and really understanding what my offering was to the world. What does this 100x life really mean? So I really focus on launching new things. This year, I am so proud of myself. I launched many different programs, many different initiatives, and I learned at every step of the way. At the beginning of the year, I had decided to launch a live cohort with the goal of launching a podcast within 100 days together. So a small group of people who joined me, which was amazing and expense alone, to build a podcast idea, take the idea, strategize on the launch, have some ways to practice. We had mock interviews where the participants took turns creating interview questions and practicing and getting live feedback from the group and how it sounded, what they can improve. And I found that as I planned for the live cohort, I didn't make that at the beginning. It wasn't part of the curriculum, but it came up organically. And being in motion and being in creation and being in community, co-creating, the idea of the mock interviews came throughout. And that was one of the biggest opportunities, the biggest learnings that the group found aside from being in a small group, building trust within each other and sharing what they're building. Really proud of what had happened through that. And it gave me an idea of what I need to grow. A couple of key learnings though from the live cohort was that everyone has different schedules, different priorities, and getting clarity. And it was really tough for people to launch within 100 days. You really just have to be focused on launch, like declaring when you're going to launch, why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, and get it done. And if you are multitasking, if you're multi-passionate, you have other priorities, it gets pushed back. So a big key learning for me and something that I took home was the 100 days was unrealistic. So I was thinking about how I could create more urgency for those to get clear on what they were creating. So later in the year, I thought about creating, I didn't even think about it. I launched a 5-day podcast clarity boot camp inspired by the speaker slam competition that I went through and also the program that I went through with Porterfield about building an email list. I was like, there's some urgency in getting clarity. And how do I do that? So I launched this 5-day boot camp, very affordable for those to get through it. And as I was in motion learning how to gather a new audience, I realized that launching before Labor Day weekend is not a good move because people are just thinking about the last weekend of the summer. And I realized in reflection why some of the other marketers, coaches, consultants start advertising, start promoting their events to close before Labor Day so people could enjoy Labor Day and then get back to work right away. So that was a huge learning, but going into the 5-day boot camp, it was a great idea. A number of people signed up, but in the end, I actually had to pivot. I had to give myself permission to let it go because I didn't get enough signups that would have made it financially worth it for me. And also the experience that I was creating, I felt like it wasn't going to give those participating the experience that they wanted from what I was describing and what I had thought in my mind. So I actually, big move, allowed myself to let go. And I reached out. I said, hey, I'm going to cancel this. This is why. And here's an opportunity to connect with me. We can do a coaching call. I'm going to launch new programs, keep the benefits. So it was a big learning to do that. But the key was always to launch new programs and keep adjusting. My audience has been changing throughout the whole year. I've been thinking about how is it multi-passionate. As I went through the live cohort, these people were definitely multi-passionate, but also busy entrepreneurs and maybe didn't have the resources to create the space to do that. So I started changing different audience from solopreneurs, successful entrepreneurs to maybe looking at high profile people, high worth folks. How could I attract celebrities or athletes who want to create impact, who want to leave a legacy? So I started thinking about and adjusting my offerings to line up with that. And this is what I'm excited to as I go into 2022, because I have a new program, a new contest that I will be launching around podcast clarity to level up, align myself with new partners. But the key to this was to launch, always adjust, get feedback, and continue to grow. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes when you go through this, you have this failure, this feeling of failure, this anxiety that you're not doing things right. And you just got to keep going, keep moving, keep going forward. So when I was thinking about the roles that I play in my audience, my ideal customer, the persona, the title has to change. I went from being a podcast host to a coach to think about being an executive producer where I could just bring in the right people around the table to launch a very specific podcast, a successful podcast, one that is set up to be on the best foot on launch, to someone who's hosting events. And it's actually fun being in creation, launching all these new things this year. I launched my first retreat, my mastermind group that I've been working with, that I've been collaborating with, that I've been sharing with the last 3-4 years now. And that was fun being in creation. And it was easy in the sense that when I made the strategy backwards project management, I got it done. while launching my live cohort, while doing things. And it was really cool. It was really great. And as I go into 2023, after this year of 2022, I'm creating and launching, redefining, realigning, pivoting, updating. I look forward to up leveling and providing a higher brand, a higher offering to those who find themselves in my universe. On the next episode, I talk about how I went about on building my audience, the mindset that I did to learn, to create, and to have a continual conversation for those in my ecosystem, in my universe, and in my world.